come closer, my children, and let your ears drink from the calabash of story. Tonight, I will tell you about a family in the town of Uvaamo, a family that danced to two different drums until the rhythm of life broke their steps. You see, Uvaamo was a town where everyone knew everyone's business. Market women shouted prices as goats bleated in protest. Children played football with empty water sachets in the dusty streets. And when night fell, the smell of roasted corn and suya drifted into every home. But in one corner of this lively town, on Eze Street, stood a modest bungalow that carried more heat inside its walls than the afternoon sun outside. The Ugbe household was divided, not by walls, not by fences, but by hearts. On one side of this battle stood Ugbe, the father, a quiet man, a secondary school teacher whose voice rarely rose above a calm river's ripple. To his students, he was a rock, firm and dependable. To his family, he was a steady tree that offered shade. He believed in books, in wisdom, in slow but honest progress. His small study smelled of old paper and chalk dust. That was his kingdom. His pride was Elisa, his first daughter, who had inherited his calm eyes and his hunger for knowledge. At just 18, she was already walking the path of law at the University of Uvaamo. But on the other side stood Odo, the mother. My children, let me tell you, Odo was no quiet woman. She was as loud as the cock that crows at dawn, as ambitious as a hawk circling for prey. Her wrappers were always bright, her voice even brighter. She did not believe that life was about waiting patiently for blessings. No, she believed blessings could be dragged down by force if one stretched their hand high enough. Her masterpiece, her pride, was her youngest daughter, Lois. Lois was 16, and to her mother, she was not a child, but a ticket, a shining key to wealth and status. Lois had beauty, no doubt, skin like polished bronze, laughter like ringing bells, and eyes that could melt or cut, depending on her mood. But Lois also had inherited her mother's fire, the belief that rules were chains meant to be broken. She abandoned school, calling it a waste of her precious time. She called Elisa bookworm and she rode it on her tongue as if it were an insult, not a crown. Now let me tell you, when a home has two drummers, the child who dances in the market square will grow confused. That night, the battle showed its face again over something as simple as dinner. The family sat round the wooden table. The aroma of egusi soup and fried plantain filled the room, but peace did not sit with them. Look at her, Ube. Just look at her. Is this not a star? With this face, with this body, she doesn't need to be burying her head in dusty books. She will marry a big man, a senator, an oil chief. Then we will retire to a mansion in Nasokoro. She is my investment. Lois giggled, adjusting her gold necklace at her throat, a glittering gift from a man known only as the contractor. She basked in her mother's praise like a lizard warming herself in the sun. But Ugbe set down his spoon slowly, like a judge preparing to speak. His voice rumbled low, heavy with sorrow. Lois, he said, this life you are chasing, this runs girl life, it is a dangerous road. A bird that flies too close to the ground will surely be caught by the cat. These men you follow, they are not your future, they are your ruin. Daddy, I beg, leave my daughter alone. Is it her fault that God made her beautiful? Is it a crime to enjoy youth? You and that your lawyer daughter, carry your judgments elsewhere. See Lois's new phone. Tell me, when last did you buy me even a scarf? Lois laughed loudly, flashing her screen as though mocking Elisa. Elisa, who had been quietly sipping her soup, looked up at her sister. Their eyes met.
calm grey waters against raging fire. Elisa said nothing, but silence, my children, can speak louder than drums. The air at the table grew thick, so thick that even the clinking of spoons sounded like thunder. That night, under one roof, 4 souls slept, but peace slept outside. My children, you know what the elders say. When a child decides to dance in the market square with dirty feet, the shame is not hers only, but her mother's also. In the Ube household, the line between wisdom and folly was drawn down the very middle of a room, the room the 2 sisters shared. On one side stood Elisa's world, neat, orderly, filled with law textbooks stacked like sentinels on her desk, books with heavy titles, criminal law in Nigeria, law of torts, books that held futures in their pages. The air there smelled of pen ink and determination. But on the other side, chaos lived there. Clothes flung like soldiers falling in battle, shoes sprawled in corners, bright wigs and lipsticks scattered across the table. The air smelled of perfume so strong it clung to your throat. That was Lois's kingdom. Or should I say her playground. One evening when the moonlight painted silver stripes across their window, Elisa closed her book and spoke. Her voice was soft, but her words carried weight. Lois, my sister, this life you are living, it is not wise. This man you call the contractor, do you even know his real name, his family, his wife, perhaps? You follow men who see you only as a prize, not as a person. You shine today, but when a younger girl comes, they will drop you like an old rapper. Lois laughed, short and sharp. Elisa begged, you are jealous. Jealous because you are suffering and smiling. With those your dusty books, I see how you look at my clothes, my phone. When I am living in a penthouse in Lagos sipping champagne, you will still be carrying files for some old lawyer begging for promotion. I beg, free me. Elisa's heart squeezed, but she pressed on. It's not about jealousy, Lois. It's about your future. Beauty fades, books last. Wisdom builds a house, but foolishness burns it down. Lois span in her chair, eyes blazing like coals. My beauty will never fade. And besides, Mommy says I have a better plan than you. Shasha and her girls, they know the way. They know how to live big. You will see. My children, remember this. A chick that ignores the clock of the mother hen will answer to the shadow of the hawk.
From then on, Lois's nights grew darker. She slipped out when the moon was high, her heels clicking on the pavement, her laughter echoing with Shasha and her gang. They were girls painted in gold and danger, always with older men waiting in flashy cars outside. To them, Lois was a rising star, and Shasha, tall, beautiful, feared, became her mentor. Neighbors whispered. Market women shook their heads. That Udo's daughter, she's always with Shasha. That one has destroyed many girls. May God help them. But Udo, when warned, only laughed. My Lois is not like others. She is smart. She knows what she's doing. All of you jealous people, go and sit down. Meanwhile, Ube, the father, watched quietly, his heart heavier with each passing day. He would sit in his study, listening for the sound of the front door opening at midnight, praying his daughter will return safe. He tried to speak to his wife. Udo, he pleaded one evening, must you encourage this? A child cannot drink palm wine with elders without staggering. You are pushing her too far. But Udo waved him away. You and your proverbs, always like one old village man. Leave me alone. Lois will bring us glory, you will see. One Sunday afternoon, the storm broke again. Lois, dressed in a glittering, revealing outfit, announced she was off to a pool party. Ube rose, his voice firm as iron. You are not stepping out dressed like that. Daddy, this is fashion, Lois snapped, her hands on her hips.
Udo, sitting comfortably on the sofa, called out, "Ube, let the girl express herself. Don't kill her shine." Elisa, reading quietly in the corner, finally spoke, her voice steady. "Father is right. It's not just about the clues, Lois. It's the message, the kind of men it attracts, the kind of danger it invites." "See, even your sister agrees," Ubia said. But Lois's eyes flashed like lightning. She pointed at them both, trembling with fury. "You are all haters. Only mommy understands me. She's my mother and my friend. The rest of you, are just boring teachers of boring things." With that, she stormed out, the door slamming so hard the windows shook in their frames. The room fell into silence. Udo only shrugged and returned to a melodrama on TV. But Ube lowered himself into a chair, his head in his hands. Elisa watched him, and in her father's tired eyes, she saw something that made her blood run cold. She saw not just worry, but defeat. "My children, you know what the elders say. The road that seems sweet in the beginning may be lined with thorns at the end." That Sunday evening, the sun melted behind the palm trees, and Lois stepped out in her glittering, revealing outfit. Her perfume left a trail in the air. Her heels clattered like a drummer sticks on the pavement. Shasha was waiting for her in a sleek black car parked at the corner, music thumping from the speakers. "Ah, my girl," Shasha shouted as Lois slid in, tossing her head proudly. "Tonight, you will show them pepper. The men are waiting, the drinks are flowing. You will shine like the queen you are." Lois laughed, tossing back her head. The night had only just begun. The party was at a lodge on the outskirts of Uvaamo, far from the pal's watchful eyes. As they drove in, the sound of Afrobeats rattled the glass, the ground pulsing with the bass. The smell of grilled meat, shisha smoke, and strong liquor filled the night air. Girls in flashy clothes, men in agbada and gold chains, everyone shouting, laughing, drowning themselves in false happiness. Lois felt at home. Men whistled when she passed. Women looked at her with envy. She was the star, the new jewel in Shasha's crown. Chief was there too, a portly businessman with a belly like a calabash and pockets heavy with money. He laughed at Lois's jokes, offered her champagne, whispered compliments in her ear. Lois glowed. She was certain her mother's prophecy was coming true. But in every garden of roses, my children, there hides a thorn. Her thorn was Big Jen. Big Jen was no ordinary girl of the night. She was older, tougher, her eyes sharp with experience. For months, she had been Chief's favorite until Lois arrived. And tonight, when she saw Chief's laughter bubbling at Lois's words, something inside her turned dark. She leaned toward her friends and hissed loud enough for Lois to hear. "See this poor pikin wey want to block road with her small nyash. She thinks she don't arrive." The words struck Lois like a slap. Her pride could not take it. She turned, her voice high, sharp. "Who you dey call small pikin? Abeg, talk well o." Big Jane straightened, towering over Lois. Her voice was heavy with scorn. "I dey call you. You be small girl. Ashawa wey never even drive from mama back. You dey from start because Chief buy you drink. Now we were here before you know how the game dey go." The crowd sensed danger. They began to circle, shouting, "Fight, fight!" Fools came out. The music thumped, but everyone's eyes were on the two women. Lois's blood boiled. Her mother's voice rang in her head. "Don't let any woman disgrace you. Fight for what is yours." Her words cut like knives. "At least I get buyers. Your market don't expire. Old cargo. Now only this can sell you now." Gasps, laughter, jeers. Big Jane's face twisted with rage. She lunged, shoving Lois hard. Lois tumbled, cut herself, then shoved back. The circle tightened. Drinks spilled. The two women clawed and slapped, rolling onto the wet tires by the poolside. Some men shouted for security, but others laughed, cheering as though it were a sport. Chief himself folded his arms, watching, his face unreadable. Lois found herself pinned under Big Jane's weight. The older girl was stronger, heavier, her hands rough, nails digging into Lois's skin. Panic rose in Lois's chest. Humiliation burned hotter than pain. Around her, the crowd's voices roared like a storm. She thought of Elisa's warnings. "These men don't respect you. They see you as nothing." She thought of her father's steady voice. "A bird that flies too close to the ground will be caught by the cat." But pride is a cruel master. Pride drowned the wisdom of those voices. Her hand flailed on the ground, desperate, searching until she fell into the cold neck of an empty beer bottle. Time slowed. Her breath came fast. Her heart pounded like a drum of war. She saw the bottle. She saw Big Jen's hands above her, and her mother's words echoed one last time. Don't let anyone shame you. With a scream that came from the pit of her stomach, Lois smashed the bottle like hasty concrete. The sound was sharp like a gunshot. The crowd fell silent for a heartbeat.
There was a pause, a silence so deep it seemed even the music stopped to listen. Big Jen's eyes widened in shock. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked down at the blood spreading across her lace blouse, crimson blossoming like a dark flower. She staggered, made a gurgling sound, and collapsed to the ground. Screams erupted. She's dead! She's dead! People scattered, some running, others filming with shaky hands. Shasha pulled Lois by the arm, but Lois was frozen, the broken bottle still in her hand, her clothes splattered with blood. Big Jen was rushed into the back of an SUV, engines roaring as they sped toward Uvaamo General Hospital. But my children, blood flows faster than wheels can turn. Before the vehicle reached the gates, her spirit had already left her body. When the police arrived, they found Lois standing still, her eyes empty, her hands trembling. She did not run. She did not protest. The cold bite of handcuffs around her wrists was the loudest sound she had ever heard. The girl who had been called Mommy's little baddie had crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. My children, when fire burns the hut, the smoke does not rise in the sky alone. It settles on every head that lived within. The news of Big Jen's death spread through Uvaamo like dry season harmattan. At the market, women shook their heads and whispered, Udo's daughter, that small girl, didn't we warn her? At the school, Umbe's colleagues spoke in low tones, their eyes heavy with pity. The whole town buzzed, and for the Umbe family, shame became their daily bread. Lois was charged. The case was titled The State versus Lois Umbe. The courtroom was packed each day like a festival ground. Traders, neighbors, journalists, even strangers, everyone came to see the girl who had stabbed Big Jen. At the front sat Udo, the once proud mother, but now her face was a map of sorrow. Her once bright wrappers dulled, her makeup streaked with tears. For the first time in her life, her voice failed her. She sat like a shadow, staring at the child she had once called her investment. Beside her sat Umbe, the father. The years seemed to have doubled on his shoulders. His eyes, once steady, were now pools of grief. He held his wife's trembling hand, though she had been her greatest opponent. They were united at last, but only by tragedy. Then came Elisa. My children, fate is the strange weaver. From when the prosecution team walked in, leading the case for the state was none other than Elisa Umbe, the elder sister. She had not been signed by chance, no. She had requested it. Some said she was wicked to fight against her own blood, but Elisa knew. The law is a river that flows beyond family, beyond pity. It was her duty to the state, to the memory of Big Jen, and to truth itself. It was also her last act of love, a sister standing in the only place left to her, the place of justice. When Lois was brought in, the crowd gasped. She was not the glittering star they remembered. Her hair was gone, her expensive extensions shaved off. Her clothes were replaced with the plain brown of the prison uniform. She looked smaller, shrunken, her eyes darting like a trapped bird. When her gaze fell on Elisa at the prosecutor's table, her lips trembled. A broken sound escaped her throat.
But Elisa did not flinch. The trial began. Witnesses were called. Men and women who had been at the pool party told the story, the insults, the fight, the bottle, the blood. Some spoke with pity, others with scorn, but their words painted the scene picture. Lois had struck in anger. The evidence was brought. The jagged bottle, stained still with dried blood. The judge looked grave. The jury whispered among themselves. Elisa stood, her voice clear and steady. She spoke not with vengeance, but with precision. My lord, the Lord does not bend for beauty. The Lord does not excuse youth. What happened that night was not an accident. It was a choice, a fatal choice. Each word was a stone laid on the path to judgment. She did not look at her parents in the gallery, though she felt their eyes burning into her. She kept her focus on the law, on the truth. During a short recess, as the wardens led Lois back to her holding cell, she stumbled close to her sister. Her voice was hoarse, her face streaked with tears. Elisa, you are my sister, my own blood. How can you do this? Please, help me. For the first time, Elisa turned. She looked into Lois's eyes and saw not the proud girl who had mocked her, but the child she used to braid hair for, the little sister who once clung to her arm when thunder rolled. The sight pierced her heart. Her own voice trembled, but she spoke with the firmness of a woman who has carried truth like a heavy load. I warned you. Daddy warned you, but you and Mommy did not listen. She called you her little baddie, her star. But see now, where has that star fallen? The law cannot be twisted, not even for blood. Lois broke into sobs, collapsing into the arms of the wardens. Her words hung in the air like a final bell toll. At last, the verdict was read. The judge's gavel struck the desk. Guilty of manslaughter. The sentence? 15 years in maximum security prison for young offenders. The courtroom erupted. Some nodded in agreement, others gasped, but one voice rose above all, the raw, piercing wail of Udo. It was not just a cry of sorrow, it was the sound of a dream rotting before her very eyes. She fell against her husband, her body shaking. Umbe held her tightly, though his own tears slid silently down his face. He had lost his daughter long before this day, but now the loss was sealed in iron chains and prison walls. And Elisa, she packed her files with steady hands, her face unreadable. She had done her duty to the state, to Big Jen, to the truth. But as she walked out of the courtroom, into the harsh, blinding sun of Uvaamo, her steps were heavy. There was no victory in her heart, only emptiness. And Lois, she was taken away, shackled, her head bowed. The girl who had once glittered with arrogance was now a shadow, swallowed by the very darkness she had chased. Ah, my children, listen well. A child who refuses the counsel of her elders will drink the bitter water of her own stubbornness. That is the story of Lois Umbe, Mommy's little body, a caution carved forever into the memory of Uvaamo.